right, it's recording. Dude, 70.
All right, we're back.
You wouldn't have got it right.
No. I mean, I remember last time, but
When's the last time we did a podcast?
I never thought we would get to 70 episodes. Seems like so. So how long have we been doing this thing for now?
A year and a half. So it started in July?
And we've pretty much done every week except for in the very beginning, or
there's been like 2 or 3 times where we missed it just because of travel schedule. But
all right, so you guys are gonna be glad we're back. We're back here. I just came back from URSA, the big equipment show in California.
How was your trip?
The trip was good. I thought it was a successul event. I mean, from what I understand, last year it was a lot better than last year, like every event is right now. And I got to see some great people there, and got to kind of walk the show a little bit, see some decent equipment. I don't see anything new that's groundbreaking that's coming to market right now, but it's great to see and communicate with people. And I got to see I got to spend time with Chris Cormier, who wants to come back on the podcast, by the way. I got to see Sean Ray. I got to see Flex Lewis and Justin Dees, and I was actually going out there to kind of go over a little bit with my buddy Mark Nally, who used to own Flex Equipment. Working on an adjustable dumbbell, a little more than that, but it's kind of a cool little concept we're working on.
So I know one thing you always get excited to go to California about is the weather.
I know.
It's like, oh my God,
I sent you the video, right?
It was awful.
Yeah. But you're like, oh, it was pretty cloudy here. But, hey, man, like you said, on the way back we spoke. I drove back at like 3 in the morning because I actually got to train. I went and trained at Metroflex Marietta, so shout out to my boy Ryan out there, which was awesome. I forgot to mention that on the way out. So that was a highlight of my trip, was being able to stop there. I trained some back, but more importantly took pictures and, got a lot of support from the community there. He's totally doing an amazing job with that gym, and
he was one of the few people that basically gave the government the middle finger.
Yeah, I mean, he fought it, and they came and chained his doors, and he went against it.
Whatever happened with all of that? Like, did everything just go away?
I mean, what do you see out there? I mean,
no, I always wondered what happened. Like, is there any ramifications?
I think people wasted money, and eventually, like, he had to open as an outdoor gym, which he gained now outdoor, similar to Gold's Gym Venice, and he fought, and obviously got a lot of respect for it because, listen, we understand the pandemic. It was hurtful for a lot of people, but at the same time, did they really need to shut down facilities such as that,
probably not.
To cause that kind of
I
problem?
shouldn't say probably, no.
I mean, listen, if you and I didn't have the gym, and we're going to talk a little bit about this episode, but what does the gym mean to you? Like, for me, it is the ultimate outlet. Like, if you said, I always say this, it's my most favorite part of the day. It's a necessity for me. It's great for my mental state, physical. I mean, I consider my morning cardio somewhat meditation, which I spend a lot of time in my gym, or, I'm traveling on the road, we're in some sort of hotel gym or whatever else. It's necessary for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever function. I don't think I'll ever stop working out. You didn't even do this as a career, and you're in the gym. I mean, right now you're doing double split training.
Yeah, I think, especially as an adult, I work from home, and I work for myself, and the gym is a way to get you out of the house. Because when you get really busy, you can just sometimes, like, I remember when I was working when I was younger, trying to get myself established, there's times I wouldn't leave the house for days because you're just so inundated with what you have in front of you. In the gym now, even now, like, I started doing cardio again in the morning. Instead of doing it in my house, I wake up and I force myself to, there's a gym 300 yards from my house, and I go there to do cardio there.
How do you get there?
I drive. Because it's been raining in the morning. Yeah. But I go there, I stop, I go into either Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, get coffee, go there, and I walk for 40 minutes. But it gets me out of the house, and it kind of helps set my day up, getting me going, where if I do it at home, I don't know, it's just not the same.
Can you do cardio in a fasted state without drinking a coffee is the question.
Of course, I can.
No, do you ever is what I'm asking you.
Every once in a blue moon I do, but it's not like a normal thing because I enjoy coffee. I drink coffee all day. And
So
I
what do you order? What's the order at?
I just get
either
a, I
Dunkin'
just
Donuts
get
or Starbucks.
I just get a regular coffee, and I put one Splenda and a tiny bit of just a little dash of cream over the top and mix it up. But I don't do all these fancy macchiato, caramelado, whatever. No, I just get normal coffee. Every once in a while, when it's really hot here, I'll get a.
So, do you choose to leave the house, other than to go to the gym, pretty much, or do you think a lot of days you spend going outside? No. Like when you leave to go to the gym is when you probably run your. I
get everything done. Yep.
And then you're.
I've been like that for years. When I leave, I'm going to get everything done I need before I go home. Because once you get home, I'm locked in. I'm done. Because then it's kind of like, for me, I have like multiple work sessions. Mm-hmm. You know, you wake up, you eat breakfast, you do cardio, whatever, and then you work. And then you'll look, and depending on what we have, if we're going to shoot a podcast, if we're going to go train, or if there's a meeting or something, you'll look and go, okay, I'm going to do this at noon, and then I'm going to go train at 1, and then I got to do this at 3. Get home at 5 or so, I'm done for the night. If I want to get food, I'll order out. I'm done. It's very rarely, you're the same way. Once you're home, you're like, I don't want to leave.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll come to the office late, though, so like if I train closer to home, remember I live like 25 minutes from where we film right now. So some days, like yesterday, I didn't want to come. You know, I didn't come to the office yesterday. I worked from home. So I trained, and I actually shot content, so I consider that like, time. Right?
But then also, too, depending on what gym you want to go to that day can determine your day, because for you, especially because up by you, there are gyms closer to you. Mm-hmm. You know, there's the Second Fit Club's up there, Kilo's up there, the Elevation's up there, and even the old school EOS that you used to train at, those Golds or LVAC. So you got a lot of gyms by you.
Lift Factory, yeah.
Lift Factory. So, or you can say, I want to go down by the office, and I'm going to go train at a gym closer to the office. So you could probably structure, because it just, you know what it is? I hate it when you go somewhere, like traffic isn't bad in Vegas, not like other cities, but I don't want to drive somewhere and then drive back somewhere. It's more annoying than anything. So I get everything done, But so let me ask you this: when you first started, like training, I want to get into the training. Like, since we're talking about gyms right now, what was a gym culture like where you grew up? Like, what was your first gym?
Yeah, I don't know where you're from, but I'm from.
I'm from.
No, I know, but no, I'm just saying like the atmosphere. But
yeah.
So I'm going to reverse back. So, I started, working out in high school, and then I know there's a lot of misinformation out there on exactly why I started, how I started, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go back to, you hear the story about, my sister's boyfriend had a magazine. It was like called Muscle Builder or something. And I saw Chris Dickerson in there winning the 82 Olympia. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why my sister's boyfriend had these magazines laying around. And I remember showing it to my oldest brother, Bob. And he's like, why would you want to look like? Because I said, this is amazing. And I think everyone looked at like action figures, like the He-Mans and, Batman, Superman, all that. I love the physiques, right? So I had this in my head, and through all my younger years, like 7, 10, 12, like I had a good body, right? I was an active child, and I didn't have, I wasn't huge, but I had lean cut physique because of my activities. I was riding BMX all the time. I was outside working. Then at 11, I started working in my brother's concrete business. And so by the time I picked up that book, I had already started that labor work. So we were laying concrete forms, and that was a lot of labor. I was spending, after school vacations, weekends doing that. And I took the interest, but then I remember when I started high school, my freshman year, I actually joined the weight room. And after school, we would stay and we would lift weights. I think we actually had a gym class too that you would lift a little bit, but we all would stay after school and we'd work out. And we only had like a universal. You ever see those machines that's like a multi-station and it had like the bench press and like we used to do shrugs. It was just like a bench, and
with
then you'd get under, the pin. So I had that in there, and obviously they had like a regular bench press, but this is way before machinery was even, we didn't have hack squats and that kind of stuff. So you did squats, deadlifts, bench press, right? So I would be like messing around with the other kids, and, we would pick up some books and read. And I remember at the time, like, we were taking chewable amino acids from Weeder. They were like chalk, you know, you would eat these and thinking this was good. But I actually started developing a pretty good body, but I didn't know anything about nutrition. I was still eating poorly. I was having, you know, pizza at home and, you know, really no structured diet. So I always talk about how that wasn't ideally when I started bodybuilding. And then I got, you know, coaxed into doing football from my sophomore year forward. So I kind of like messed around in the weight room. We had our lifts, and we would actually travel for our school, Wachusett Regional, to challenge other schools in like a I guess it would be a powerlifting competition. So we bench press, squat, deadlift, right? And I always was one of the strongest. I would always have the highest lift in each one, right? Maybe not. Maybe I'm definitely bench press. I benched the most. I always mention I bench pressed 315 in high school. And how would I know that if I didn't really lift weights, right? Yeah, I think there was more technique, but I wasn't consistent with it. Let's put it that way. And I didn't have any kind of structured work or anything like that. No real guidance. You know, when you were working on a school gym, you're in there with your peers, and no one really knew. And I remember going in, and I would bench press during, like, we'd have basketball games in the wintertime, and I would go in, and they'd say, "Leo, Jay, get under the bench press," so people could watch me bench press 315. You know, everyone was like so enthused by it, right? So I did that, and then I had this. My buddy Jeff was actually a bodybuilder. He was a couple years older than me. So when I was a sophomore, he actually took me to a Gold's Gym in Leominster, Mass for the first time. And he was really an all-around, I would consider him a bodybuilder. He didn't compete, but he did all the training. Like, he did legs, he did arms, he did shoulders. Where in the weight room, in all the early years, we didn't do that. I don't know how did you train, like, when you started?
You know, we had a weightlifting class in high school.
Did they teach? But what would they teach you?
Not
grouping of body parts or anything, right?
They would just show. I think it was more just us messing around. I don't ever remember them. They would say, "Hey, you got to do these things," and you put X's on what you did and how much weight it was. But nobody really taught us anything. You still kind of taught yourself, but we didn't have
no side laterals or nothing like that.
If you want to do shoulders, you do shoulder press. You want to do chest, you do bench press, squat. There was like 10 exercises.
So for me going to this gym, I remember he did legs with me, dude, and he destroyed me because I always had genetically, even before, in football I played fullback, so I had like really developed thighs. And I remember even then I had trouble fitting in like straight leg jeans, just probably from doing the concrete and lugging. Like I used to carry these concrete forms, 80 pounds on my shoulder. And I remember he would just squash me because I just couldn't, like, I never trained legs like that, like reps. And next thing you knew, we just, I really didn't follow into that routine like he did. And, you know, I obviously was having fun in high school and everything else. But I made the decision at 16 years old. I said, I am going to bodybuild because I had studied it enough. Now, bodybuild in a light term.
Explain the difference between bodybuilding and weightlifting.
So bodybuilding,
because there's a big difference.
Yeah, so bodybuilding is okay, I'm going to cycle body parts and I'm going to have a schedule where certain days I train certain things. I follow some sort of a diet regimen, like you have to eat, because, you know, it's like you go and lift weights. If you're not fueling that, how are you going to have progress? And I knew I wouldn't be committed in high school. I was still buying school lunches and I was skipping breakfast and I was partying. I was doing everything like in high school that every young kid should do. You know, I always encourage.
Let me ask you this real quick. Right now, do you bodybuild or do you lift weights?
Because I bodybuild.
But not like serious. It's more structured.
No, it's definitely, but my bodybuilding routine still smokes 99%.
What I mean by that is you're not in the gym like you once were. Like I remember years ago, you're not looking at your shoulders going, I have to do this.
No, but I still follow. I train with X amount of sets. I schedule body parts.
Yeah.
I still am looking like I watch. Okay, I would judge an exercise by how it feels, and I if I have a routine, like if I do shoulders, you know, I'm going to do side laterals, I'm going to do presses, I'm going to do rear. I do all heads of the shoulder, right? So early on, like I said, weightlifting was what I did in that weight room. But when I joined that gym, and I think bodybuilding, I said, I am going to sit in the gym and I'm going to be like a sponge and I'm going to absorb. So I actually joined that Gold's Gym in Worcester, and shout out to Andy Stratus, who actually owned that gym at the time. I paid $300 for a gym membership.
Just think about that for a moment. $300 and 91. Yes. Most gyms now aren't $300 for the year.
I know, because this is
There's
what
very
it was.
few people did it back then. Though.
Yeah.
So it was a specialty.
To maintain it was, the gym was about 20,000 feet, I think, or maybe 25.
So you started in 1991. You got your first gym membership. Talk about the starting physique. Did you look better than I look now?
I graduated high school at like around 190, and
I was 170.
Yeah, and I mean, I was, like I said, I was lean and I was muscular, but I felt like I looked pretty good, right? I mean, I had like little arms and my shoulders were always decent.
I'm gonna Google that picture.
I had terrible pecs. My legs were decent, but I was just an athletic kid. So when I joined the gym, that was August 3rd, 1991. So I, was working concrete at the time. And I said, when I start college, because I was going to school for criminal justice in the fall, I said, I'm going to start doing this routine. And pretty much I started. I might have joined the gym on August 3rd, but I think I started more in September. I got done working the concrete. And then once I started college, it was like the end of August, early September, I started actually training.
Yeah.
The physique was good. But I had no idea what I was doing.
Who did you learn from? Like, was it
great
books?
Question.
Because I think every one of us that's been around
magazines.
A long time, we all had the Arnold Encyclopedia.
I didn't have that.
You didn't?
But I actually picked up scrap magazines in the gym, and I would sneak them out, and I would take them home, and I would sit in my room, I sit on the toilet, and I would read these like front to back, and I'd learn the routine. So I watched. I lie. I bought Bob Harris's Beyond Built book when I was 16. That's how I kind of got enthused about training at GNC. And then I would go into GNC at the time. I don't know if you remember this, what your era was, but GNC is the only place that really sold bodybuilding magazines. Yeah. So I'd actually sit in front of the magazine section. Do you remember doing it? And I would sit and read because I didn't want to pay the $5 for the magazine. So I would read front to back.
Let me ask you this. Who was the first bodybuilder you saw in person that you remember?
Lee Labrada.
That doesn't have to be pro.
No, sorry. You want to laugh? You know who I think it was? Tony Freeman.
Really?
Yes, he came to my gym in Worcester, Mass. And he wasn't a pro yet. And I was so impressed by Tony Freeman. He was tall and he was built. Second was Ron Love. Ron Love came. Remember Ron Love? He came, and then the first guy I saw pose in person was Lee Labrada at my first contest, and
so
he was the guest
I
person.
Remember my mom had two roommates when I was a kid. I was in like 4th grade, and they were bodybuilders. Mm-hmm. And I remember they trained at a gym in Port Charlotte, Florida called Kevin's Gym. And I remember the guy who owned it, Kevin, came to our school and spoke in front of us. And I remembered seeing him walk, and it looked like he had bricks under his legs. I remember going home to my mom, this guy had bricks in his legs, and she couldn't understand what I was talking about. Yeah. And then I realized, like, holy shit, his quads were that big. I'm like, I want bricks in my legs one day. But that's the first time I remembered seeing an actual bodybuilder speaking.
I'm not saying there was other guys in the gym. This guy Richie Warfield, he's he was like big in our area, and but he there's a lot of guys that were lifting weights.
Actually, the two first elite people I saw, Aaron Madrin and Melvin Anthony guest pose in '98.
Where?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yep. That was the first time.
What year did you meet me? When did you see me in Florida? Late 90s?
Yes.
96, 97?
No. I think it was 99 or 2000.
Oh, okay.
And then later that year I met Sean Ray. He was the first, in quotes, pro. Because I remember Aaron was getting ready for the U.S. and Aaron and Melvin were getting ready for the USAs. And Melvin signed mine. 99. He signed mine 1999 Mr. USA, and he was dieting for the USAs. He wrote it down as a prediction.
Well, he got second, I think, in 98 or 98, something. Yeah.
And I still have, you know what's funny?
James, I think.
I have this file in my safe of all these things I have. Like, I have old autographs I got from Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman, like when I was younger. And I have all those in there, and I pulled it out maybe a year ago, and I still have Melvin Anthony's. It says Mr. USA 1999. Chickarillo.
So he predicted it, huh?
Yep, Chickarillo when he was with like Cytosport or something like that. I forgot what company he was with. Orville Burke. he can't. I have all these on.
Well, Bob was with GNC for a long time.
Yeah,
actually.
I forgot. Maybe it was GNC. I'd have to go back and look. I have all of them. Dorian Yates, King Kamali, Craig Titus. I got one of him from him.
Yeah.
Kelly Ryan. Yeah, I got all these in there. Kind of random.
Yeah, so there was local people, but at the time.
So let me ask you this. So you start bodybuilding in
And I
1991.
picked up advice from people in the gym more than anything. So I'd sit and watch and say, okay, I would ask people questions, and people honestly didn't give me the right time of day, to be truthful.
I don't think anyone ever would.
Yeah.
So you started that. Now your family coming from what I call real America work, like hard work. No parent that had to work hard looks at their kid and thinks that they can be successful from something they don't perceive as hard work. So your dad being a farmer and your brothers being in concrete, that's as hard as it gets. So what did they think when you said, I'm going to make a living being a muscle man?
Walking in here.
Oh, God. Look what the cat drug in. Look at this guy. You want to join? Yeah, sure. Go sit your big fat
All right,
face
so we
here.
have
Look at how fat your face is. Look at how here. Plug that microphone in.
you got to plug it in,
Up top.
Yeah, see up here.
Yeah, we do that so it doesn't have we don't get any feedback. And then those are headphones there. You put those over your ears. Have you ever seen those before?
That works. No, I've never used these before ever in my life.
Look at what the cat
Does
drug
it
in.
work, or you hear yourself, or?
No, I'm not hearing myself at all.
All right, we'll just keep talking. I'll fix it.
Welcome to David Baye.
Look at this.
Do you
Fancy.
what do you think?
I think this is a nice setup you guys got here.
What happened? Did you break it, or? No, it's just not plugged in. Are you going to edit it, or?
Just keep it raw, right?
How was the trip?
It was all right.
Can you hear yourself now, or?
I had it and then it cut out.
It goes in and out. So testing.
Yeah, now I hear myself. Yeah.
Probably you got cut off now.
Probably. Whatever.
No, I can hear you too.
We're all good.
There we go. This is fancy.
Good. Look at this, man. Look at how fat your face is.
We were just talking about this, Dave. We were talking about how I actually started training, and he was just asking me about when I joined the local Gold's Gym in Worcester, Mass. And
Where was your first gym?
My first commercial gym.
Yeah.
It was actually a Gold's Gym in Appleton, Wisconsin.
How old were you?
19. It opened in April of 1999. It was
See, look at he remembers the dates too.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge deal for Appleton, Wisconsin. We had there was a Bally's, I think, or a Vic Tanny. Like some of the old,
Yep.
some of the old school guys would be like, I remember the Vic Tanny days. But like Gold's was the big first big gym that we had, and yeah, it was. I mean, looking back comparatively to the gyms that we have now, it's still. It still holds up as a.
That was right on College Ave, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was next to the WGNR.
All right. Well, first of all, because some people don't know, who are you?
So I don't even know what am I supposed to be.
What is your title? What is your title?
My official title is the Media and Digital Marketing Director for the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, aren't you
Classic.
Mr. Wisconsin?
I am a two-time Mr.
Oh,
Wisconsin.
okay.
Damn, why are you trying to take away his title?
Oh shit! He cut me short on the titles, the Arnold Classic titles. So, Dave used to wear 12 hats, so he was. What were you? Everything, right?
Yeah,
You were a media personality. What else?
Yeah, well, I was the online editor-in-chief for Muscular Development, and then a media correspondent, and I did writing and editing for them as well. So did a lot for Muscular Development and traveled quite a bit for them. And then
He interviewed me a lot.
Yeah, and did an interview once. I introduced him as 4-time Mr. Olympia, and he just cut the interview right in the middle of the interview. So, whoa, wait a minute here. I also won 3 Arnold Classics and won the Most Muscular Award 3 times. So
Doesn't that make you feel great now that you're running all the media stuff for Arnold Sports, and I respected the title that much?
It actually, to be honest, it is funny looking back on when you called me out on it. Now that I work for the Arnold Classic, that
You pay attention when someone has an Arnold title.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I would always do that, whether it was Latoria or Angelica or any of these girls or anyone that won it. They'd say, "Oh, they won X amount of Olympias." I'm like, they also won X amount of Arnolds too, because it's still a major title. It's a major achievement.
Yeah, I think for the sake of interviews, we just to roll in with a quick, snappy interview. It was always easier just to be like.
X amount Olympia.
Yeah, and then roll off of that. But I mean, as far as winning titles and things like that, And of course, when we look at bodybuilding, anything that's got Arnold's name attached to it is, so.
Well, welcome. Wait, let me just finish what I'm talking about here, and then we're going to bring you in. But so in Worcester, Mass, you know, there was the Gold's Gym, but there was also this gym called Bay State Gym, okay? The AAU was really big before the NPC was created, and it was really big in the area I was from. And Victor Terra, you ever hear the name Victor Terra? Or Victor Terra was very popular where I was from. He was a big AAU guy, right? So Mr. Universe. And when I joined that gym and I watched these guys in here, and there was this guy named Carl Richards who was really good. He was like a national level competitor, and he kind of taught me some stuff, but it was more just a community of people that I eventually, like, as I started to grow, I got more recognition. People started to pay attention a little bit, and then I would kind of learn. But fortunately, you know the story, somehow I got recognition from Derek Farnsworth, actually, was competing in Muscle Mania at the time. So shout out to Derek Farnsworth. You know who Derek is.
Of course, yeah.
And that was a traveling show. So they would set up in each region, you know, the Muscle Mania show, and he was, you know, on the show called American Sports Network. It was Lou Zewick show, and, you know, they would feature, like, local people from their certain areas. And he told Lou Zewick about me. He's like, there's this really big kid in Worcester, Mass with these big legs, you know. And so he started calling the gym, like cold calling me, like, who's this guy? Who's this blonde kid? And that gave me the motivation to actually end up competing, and that's how I did the Teenage Nationals. But he also introduced me to Chris Aceto, who lived 2 hours from me. So Chris Aceto was coming through Worcester one time. At the time, he was married to Laura Cravell, and, you know, he stopped at my gym, and he took a look at me and kind of helped me a little bit, gave me some guidance, and that's kind of the start of really when I started to really
with your
learn.
when I asked before was, what did your brothers and your dad think about you not going into the family business, but then going in a totally, like, almost like a fairy tale type career?
I honestly fought this for a long time, and listen, I respectively give my brothers and my father credit for all my success, because they set the foundation of the hard work and the dedication, the value of a dollar. I am the person I am today because my brothers raised me. My dad was obviously there too, and my sisters were great. Obviously, my mom played a part in it too. My mom was super supportive, by the way, and my parents were separated, but my stepfather, Paul. But most importantly, like, my brothers kind of gave me that foundation and really made me work for that. But at the same time, I think there was some disappointment more on my dad's side, because he really wanted me to follow suit and be able to help the brothers. Like, he wanted to keep the family together. It was very important. Every Sunday, my dad would cook for the whole family. We'd all get together. So, I mean, 7 kids, you know, we'd all have this party on Sunday. It was like a family thing. And we did that for a very long time. My brothers all moved, like, they all lived in the same street. So, you know, the concrete was our family business. And I think they were a little disappointed. But I wanted to go to college. You know, I'm like, you know, I wanted to go to college. And I don't know if I really wanted to pursue a degree because I actually wanted to do that degree. But I think more I wanted to not have to do the foundations, if that makes sense. And was there a certain moment when you realized, okay, I have this dream that I can do this, but was there a certain moment when you went, holy shit, I can really do this? Like, this isn't just talk, I can do it. I think it happened more of when I started getting the recognition, and I went to the teen nationals, and I saw what the competition was. I saw Branch Warren, and I thought, I'm way bigger than Branch Warren, but he obviously was better conditioned. That's when I learned what bodybuilding was about, and it wasn't all about size. But I realized then that I had something special, because obviously I won, and I didn't have a lot of competition in my class. There was only one other guy in the heavyweights before we were super heavy. And I went to California shortly after, so I won the teen nationals in June of 93. And in July, I flew to the USA in California, and I watched Chris Cormier win his pro card against Mike Francois and Dennis Newman, Paul DeMeo. Craig Titus was in that show. It was like the best USA lineup ever, right?
It's a wild amateur lineup.
So, I mean, that would be like a crazy pro show now. So I got to witness that, and when I met Ed Connors, and I realized, like, wow, this is like people recognized me already from the magazines. Like, people were talking about it. The magazines were about to come out of the results of the teen nationals. They're like, and Chris Aceto was there, and he's introducing me. He's like, this kid just won the teen nationals. Like, this kid I've been helping, and Ed invited me to come back in November of that year to stay at his house. And when I got to go in Gold's Gym and stay there for a month, I stayed there the whole month of November and went back just before Christmas. I spent Thanksgiving there. It was just, the feedback was unbelievable. And I said, I have to do this. But when I walked in Gold's Venice for the first time in 93, I remember walking in, and I spent 7 hours in Gold's Gym that day. Mm-hmm. And I watched the who's who walk in there, and I saw Flex Wheeler, and I saw Cormier, and I saw, just after.
Everyone was there.
It was like Keanu Reeves was training there at the time, and it was just like, this is California. And coming from where you guys are, right? You both from Wisconsin. You dreams are made on the West in California, right? Every TV show was like California.
Hollywood was everything.
Yes, and I don't know if I was encouraged to pursue a degree in criminal justice because of chips. I always thought, okay, I'm going to end up in California and ride a motorcycle. Like, that was my dream, because I was into like ATVs and stuff. And I know now you're doing a lot of riding, but you send me pictures of that all the time. But I really wanted to be a police officer. I really wanted.
That means you're a bully.
No. I think when I started training, that was an excuse, okay, to get a little bigger. And I never thought I'd become Mr. Olympia. I mean, Dorian Yates was Mr. Olympia at that time. And, he was like recognized as like the best of the best. I mean, he was like a Lee Haney. He stepped up. You want a cold one?
Yeah.
So I think, for me, I realized, I think, Matt, then when I went to that Gold's Venice and won the teen nationals and did all that, I think that's when I realized that I wanted to pursue this and I could actually do it.
I just thought, this is completely off topic. When you were talking about that show that you saw and how all the amateurs were, we were just talking about this last night at dinner about like college basketball right now, where when we were younger, you knew the team because a guy would come in and he would stay for 3 years. 4 years. And so next year you'd go, oh my God, there's these 20 top people are playing, and you knew what teams they are. I don't know one player in a team now. I can't name one top national amateur competitor right now. But back when we first got into it, you knew, oh, this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy are all going to be at the USA's battling for that one pro card. But now it's not like that anymore. Why do you think that is?
I mean, it was like Cormier won, Francois was second, third was DeMeo, fourth was Titus, fifth was this guy Ken Castagnoli, I think. Do you remember him?
Yeah, the name is familiar.
And I mean, Dennis Newman was seventh, I think, in the class. I think Ciccarello he might have been in that. I mean, the list goes on and on. Edgar Fletcher, I think, might have been in it also.
Yeah.
Remember?
I think obviously there was less pro cards available. I mean, just flat out less pro cards available, but you also had less divisions.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding, I think, as a whole, not the sport of competitive fitness, but just bodybuilding itself, I think, was a little bit bigger than it is right now.
Yeah.
And
because if you wanted to be a pro, you had to go after that.
Yeah, because at the time, I think the USA's in the early 90s was just the overall
title. And then it became the second one runner-up.
When I went to my first USA's in 2004, I was actually with Ed Connors as well. That was the year Chris Cook won the Supers but didn't get his pro card. That was the second year he won the USA's. He won the USA's in 03 and won it in 04. Didn't get his pro card either year. In 04, it was, who won the heavyweights that year? It was the year before Phil Heath. I
Not Matt Duvall.
No, Duvall
was it
Richard Jones.
Richard Jones, or was he 13 or 03?
He was 02. Won the overall in 02. I'd have to look back.
So let me ask you this: I'm going to go on topic. Okay, I just think they give too many pro cards out.
For sure.
Yeah, I think you would definitely keep some of the better amateurs and allow them to grow and develop.
Don't you feel like more. People would build a bit of name recognition, and this goes for, the drafts now for sports. Like now, it's like you 1 year.
So I'm going to use the NBA just because in the NFL you still have to play a certain amount of college, but right now the first 2 or 3 years you're in the NBA, you're still being developed. to where before you were developed in college. So when you got to the NBA, you were ready.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of the same
Unless
way
you're
with
Kobe
bodybuilding.
or LeBron or
But even
Kevin
Kobe,
Garnett.
but
or,
LeBron's the only one that came out the gate and was successful. Kobe didn't start until his second year. He didn't really start coming to his own because he was being developed. So I think it's the same way with bodybuilding, where now, and I'm not, there's guys that are probably turning pro now at some of these shows that wouldn't have turned pro if it was still the same way it was. So it kind of waters it down. And that's just my opinion. Or somebody might have been an amazing bodybuilder, but they're going to take a different division because they can do it in 3 years instead of 5 or 6 years because of that.
Who inspired you to get into bodybuilding? Do you remember the moment? Or
So there was a couple of different things. Of course, my stepdad was like, you know, guy loved the Arnold movies and Stallone. So we would watch those movies at our house, you know, Friday and Saturday nights when we were kids. As far as bodybuilding, my oldest brother, he's the same age as you. He got into bodybuilding in the early 90s and right away got a subscription to like Flex magazine. Flex is what he had, and it must have been early 90s. So I was, 11 or 12 years old, and it was like, holy shit, like these
same
guys.
as me. That's crazy.
Your
Like, I was like,
brother
these
just
guys-
posted a picture on Facebook, and he's got shredded abs now. And how old is he?
He's turning. So my oldest brother, he was
him,
born late August of '73, and he's always been into weightlifting and always been muscular. But I think he kind of got this, hey, I'm turning 50 kind of bug, and now he's probably hovering like around 8% body fat. It's the
Fit for 50, man.
yeah. He's pretty.
I got a ways to go.
He's pretty shredded up right now. It's like, holy shit, you're making.
I know he saw the
making
picture.
me
I'm like,
look
who's this?
bad.
I'm like, oh, it's Dave's brother.
Why is he lazy on a challenge to August?
No,
or?
so it's so I think he wanted to get in shape at 50. I think, everybody, you start getting older. It's like you want to.
Is he muscular too, or?
Yeah, he's 190 or so, pretty ripped.
I noticed that when we were at the Arnold, he ate with us the one time, and he was just
recently.
Yeah, he
Okay.
came to the
So
Arnold.
my oldest brother, like in his circle, like it's funny because him and I don't really see eye to eye on training stuff. So he moved down to Florida in '96 and worked with Ellington Darden and Arthur Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And in that like world of heavy duty, like Mike Mentzer style training, he's kind of popular in that world, which is kind of funny to me because him and I was always more of a volume trainer. My other brother was more of a volume trainer. And so we butt heads, still to this day about training styles and stuff. He'll go on and be like, you only need to train 40 minutes a day, 3 times a week. And he was always really, really anti cardio. Like, you don't have to do cardio. And finally he's really stubborn. He's like, well, I'm just going to prove it now. And now he's probably,
Is he doing cardio?
no, he's not doing it.
No, it's old school way, dude. No one did cardio back in that era.
He's not
I mean,
doing
you could get, you just sometimes the diet just needs to be a little more low calorie, but you can lose a lot of body fat and
Especially
get really
if you
lean
train
without
really
cardio.
hard.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, he's not doing a minute of cardio, and he's pretty ripped up. So
It's-
Look at that, there's hope for you.
No, dude, I'm gonna crush this shit. What is like? So he encouraged you. You said you had
Like I said,
encouraged you?
mine was, I would say, my mom was around it. My mom dated a guy who his older brother was Mr. Wisconsin like 3 times.
Do you remember what his name is? Or
Jeff. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm still known. Jeff Calhoun. And he,
you know this guy? Or?
this would have been in the 80s.
name is like when you were a younger bodybuilder, like in Wisconsin, people would throw out the names. Like I don't know that I've ever met him. I've heard the name Doug Splitgerber 5,000 times. He was like the old like gym guy in our area. So
He got me when I was 17. He's like, you should work out because my legs were separated and I had captured, but I was just a basketball player and high jumper. So I didn't really lift weights like that. And then I just started working out with him one summer. Afterwards, we would go train at the gym, and their family owned a ATV boat Ski-Doo, Sea-Doo dealership. So I'd work for that. I would install docks, and I'd deliver jet skis and whatnot, and then I'd go work out with him. And I just started seeing crazy progress. And then by the time I was 19, by the time I was 20, I was like 215 pounds. So I went from 269, 270 in high school to 215 pounds by the time I was 20, 21, just from And all I ate was sandwiches, turkey sandwiches.
Nobody knew what we
I
were
remember, I was telling you the last time, I remember seeing an ad for this thing. It said Sport Wayne Fort Nutrition. It was in one of the magazines. I'm like, I'm going to call this number. And I call it, and the guy's like, man, I got this stuff. It's almost as strong as steroids. It's this Nitro Tech, and it's this Cell Tech. And I was like, I got to have that. So I bought it.
What year was that?
98, 99.
Okay.
98.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I
probably right
remember
when that stuff came out.
I remember going to class.
I don't know if it came out then. No.
It was early. It was right around the late 90s.
Yeah, you're right.
It was-
It was out. Yeah, it was
And
out.
I remember going, I'm thinking, dude, do I look bigger? Just standing around there, I'm like, I got Nitro Tech in my. I'm sorry, not Nitro Tech came out later. It was the Cell Tech. Cell Tech in my system.
I'll tell you guys an amazing story. So, 95, I win the Tournament of Champions. I'm like the next big guy to win my pro card. And at the time, I just refused a contract from Joe Weider. I got to meet Joe Weider in 95, which was absolutely amazing.
You turned down a contract from Weider?
So I went into Joe's office.
a bully.
No, so I went into Joe's office, and the first thing he said, I was in a white T-shirt. I remember exactly, and I was in these plaid shorts, and he goes, who'd you shoot with? And I'm like, well, I shot with Robert Reeve, which I just did a Muscle and Fitness cover with. But I shot with Irv Gelb because he flew out like 3 weeks prior to the Tournament of Champions to shoot me in Massachusetts, and he was shooting for Muscle Mag or whatever. He goes, because I want to give you a contract. So I sat there, and I'm like, okay, what do you want to offer? And he offered me $2,000 a month. This was 95, and I wasn't a pro yet, right? So I actually, I was like, oh, that's not a lot of money. So I turned it down. And he kind of couldn't believe it, right? And, I said, I'll come back next year when I win a pro card, which everyone's trying to get me to compete because this was August. Everyone's like, you need to get your pro card in October, the Nationals. I'm like, no, I'm going to wait a year because at the time, like Titus had just got his card. Tom Prince was next to win or whoever else. Or maybe, I think, did Titus win the USA? Phil Hernan won the USA, so Titus was going to the Nationals, whatever. So it was kind of like his turn. So I went home, and I remember I got a call from a guy. Phone rings, Muscle Mag. Robert Kennedy owned Muscle Mag, right? Yep. And he's like, hey, I got a guy that's starting a supplement company, wants to talk to you. Okay, so Paul Gardner, who owned Muscle Tech, called me and said, starting this company called Muscle Tech. I want to offer you a deal. I'm like, okay, what do you want to offer? And he says, I'll offer you $2,000 for the year. For the year.
But you got to remember, back then amateurs didn't get contracts.
And he was
nothing.
And he was on the ads at the time.
Yeah,
he was using himself, right?
Yeah,
he worked at Muscle Mag or whatever. And I said, I refused the deal, obviously, because I said Joe Weider just offered me a better deal. And next thing you know, years later, I signed that deal or whatever. I ended up going with Weider the next year, doubled the money. First contract was $50K, and then for the year. And then, I signed with Muscle Tech in 2003 for record-breaking contracts. Mm-hmm. Then re-signed again. Did
you ever, when you were talking in 2003 about that deal, did you ever bring up the fact that you turned him down?
No.
Just as a funny joke.
I respected him a lot because obviously he built a crazy. I mean, I think they sold the thing for close to $1 billion. And I never imagined it would have the recognition that it did, right? The worldwide recognition. I mean, they launched Muscle Tech, and then they launched 6 Star off of it, and it turned into Iovate, and today
they bought it. I think they bought Xenadrine too.
They had
they bought everything.
They had Muscle Asylum Project for a
short
period.
They did.
I was with them for 2 years, from 2008 to 10.
Yeah, Silvio Samuel was on that.
Silvio,
Johnny Jackson, I think.
Tony Freeman might.
You know what's crazy? Yeah. Of all the supplement brands, all the years I've been traveling, Muscle Tech is the only one. I saw Muscle Tech in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia.
Listen, I'll say it. I mean, you guys know I own a brand, and Muscle Tech, man, they did everything first class. Like, they treated us great. Shout out to Paul for the culture he created there, because he had such enthused employees. And Cormier and I were speaking about this at Ursa when we just spent some time, and everything was first class. We stayed at Ritz-Carlton's when birthdays, holidays, they were just on point with the treatment they gave all their athletes, and they had the craziest roster ever, right?
Yeah.
Everyone. I mean, who didn't they have?
Yeah,
they had the who's who of everyone, and
they were the trifecta of the.
It was crazy.
I think the only person they didn't have was Ronnie. They had Dexter, they had you, they had Chris, they had Branch for a while. had Phil for a while.
Yeah.
Phil, yeah.
Yeah, Phil
Everybody
came after me, yeah. But so that's kind of how, like, I wanted to give a little breakdown of how I kind of started, because I know I get so many questions, and listen, we appreciate all the comments on there, but, you know, you were asking me about the culture. That's how this whole thing got on a tangent about it. But so we had, like, the Gold's Gym, we had Bay State. I ended up traveling to a gym called Nautilus Plus, and that was like 45 minutes away, but that's how important it was for me to improve. So I'm not going to lie. Like, they had a ham tractor. Do you know what a ham tractor is? Like the seated leg for hamstrings. They had that there. They had Icarian leg presses. They had hammer strength, which
before anyone else had it.
Yes. So I used to travel 45 minutes to this gym and 45 minutes back. In fact, I would get up at 4 a.m. and I would be on the road and be training by 7 o'clock in the morning. So I would drive. It was 45 minutes. Train and come home. And that's how focused I was on building this career. And this was after, like, before I won, around the time I won the Tournament of Champions, won my pro card, and, you know, eventually ended up moving to California when I was like 25 years old. But, you know, I just, I took advantage of every gym. So kind of like we do in Vegas, like, we have a lot of availability. And I know you only train at one gym, right?
I mostly one gym.
But do you have access like we do?
Couple.
Like, you can
Not
train
like here, no.
You can train at a different gym every day. I mean, Matt went and trained yesterday at one gym and then drove over to another one just to have a protein shake.
I hate saying this, but I shouldn't say it. There's 100 gyms in Vegas. Legit, there's 100 gyms, if not more.
Do you ever look at Vegas and say, damn, these guys got it made out there?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's an interesting conversation that I actually have with a lot of the younger bodybuilders and younger weightlifters in Appleton. Is a lot of them bring up they wish they had a different gym or different gym atmospheres, because we really just don't have that there. There's one gym called Premier Fitness that's kind of become the gym where a lot of the younger guys are going, mostly because they just have a posing room but with lighting set up.
And you can 24-hour access.
Yeah, and it's 24-hour access.
Keep up.
But it's interesting that they ask about, like, how's it like to train at other gyms? And I guess I've gotten so used to training with what's kind of available that I almost don't even look at it. Of course, when I travel, which I do a lot of times I don't even get to work out when I travel. It's I fly in, I work, I fly home. But there are times when I've had a chance to go to certain gyms and been like, oh man, like, this is badass. If I could have trained here. But then I also try to take a step back sometimes and realize, like, some of the guys that I looked up to, you know, going back, you know, further back into the 60s and 70s. I mean, these guys were training. I mean, you look at Arnold and Louis and Franco, and those guys were training with dumbbells and old universal machines. So sometimes, you know, I get in that mindset, like, man, it would be nice to train at a Metroflex where it's just like a loud music and everybody clanging and banging. And it would be nice to have nicer machines. You know, the gym I train at right now is a Crunch gym, and the owners are great people. It's a very large, clean facility. But the equipment that they had to go with as part of their franchise is pretty generic stuff. It's not the best equipment. Yeah. So on
hoist.
The hoist stuff is actually the nicer. They have, I don't want to dog people on your podcast, but the Star Trek stuff is, it's not great equipment.
And it used to be better, you know.
But you go in and you train, and I remind myself, like, look, this is still better than what a lot of people who had significantly better physiques than I have trained with. But I do tell the younger guys, and there's always that, like, man, I wish I had a different train.
You know what, though? The best progress I ever made in life was in a small hole in the wall where there was just dumbbells and barbells.
I know, but you were probably at a different point in your life, though, too.
Yeah, early 20s.
You know, not so dragged all over the place.
And I wasn't worried about getting hurt or anything. You just wanted to lift as heavy as you could.
I trained at Tony Doherty's gym in Melbourne, the one that's under the original one that's under the train tracks. And that was badass, except I had I was squatting on a Smith machine. It wasn't anchored to the floor, and I was pushing back a little bit, and the whole thing started tipping. I fell on my ass on Tony's Smith machine. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to have the access to the gyms that you guys have here. I mean, there's a few gyms in Appleton, and they all have kind of their things that make them better than the next gym, whether it be a little bit better equipment or a better atmosphere or 24-hour access. Yeah. But there's not like one gym like that's the gym to train at. You know, even my brother built my middle brother, that's the dentist, built a pretty decent gym in his basement just so he could have access to it and put the machines and stuff.
You ever go there and work out, or?
You know, when the pandemic hit, we went there and worked out when I was getting ready for competitions and stuff still. So he built his house in 2006. And when I was getting ready for competitions, there was times that, if a gym was closed for whatever reason, or if I just didn't want to be around people, I would go to his house and train. And he had, a hack squat, a squat machine. He had, full rack, dumbbells up to, I think, 120s, bench machine, a rowing machine.
Did you go there and train?
I've been there once. I didn't train there, though. I remember.
What's your home gym that you always talk about? What's the gym that you guys train at when you used to
train at Experience when I was there?
Yeah,
is that
we trained at Crunch.
Crunch sometimes, yeah.
So, yeah. So
where I lived, the Experience was actually it was about they're about the same for you.
Are you training at that place or?
I basically just am at Crunch right now. So the Experience. So there's two main gyms that I was training at: Experience Fitness and Crunch. And Crunch, it's a cleaner gym. It's more open space.
It's big. It's
a better atmosphere. It's just nicer.
What's a membership cost? We were just talking about my $300 in 1991.
It's $10 for just the membership. $20 gets you tanning, and you can bring a guest and do a bunch of other stuff. So the memberships where we're at are cheap. And then the Experience Fitness, it's older, kind of smells like a gym sock, but they have old equipment, but they have some nice old hammer strength stuff and some nice old.
I like the Experience better.
So would you go to a different gym to train different body parts? Is the question?
Oh, when I was younger and competing, absolutely. Yeah, there was a like a CrossFit / strongman gym that we had that had the I forget what squat machine it is. It's not a pendulum squat, but some wild squat machine, and they had a big long area where the strongmen would train, where you could do walking lunges and stuff. So I definitely had gyms where, okay, this is where I'm going to train legs. This is where I would go to train shoulders and stuff like that. And everything is within, a 15-mile radius. So it wasn't even like we had to go out of the way. My brother worked at a Gold's Gym in Green Bay in the 90s before he moved down to Florida. And they had like everything. They had hammer strength. They had a room where it was all this Med-X equipment. I don't know if you ever trained on that. It was like super expensive stuff.
When I went and got therapy done on my shoulder, I was getting dry needling. I went to this spot because my insurance is like, this is a place you have to go to. And I didn't realize it's in Green Bay near the airport. And I remember they're like, hey, we're going to walk through this area. And they walked me through this gym that had an indoor track. It had a 40-yard football. Like, it was the nicest gym ever. And I had no idea it was there. Dumbbells up to 180 pounds in this gym in Green Bay. But it's not a public gym. It's more of a rehab facility, but it has everything. And it's near the airport.
He's making me feel bad because there are some gyms like in Green Bay where it would probably be about a 30.
Where did we train at that gym when I flew out there for that event?
That was actually in Milwaukee.
That's right. Yeah.
So, so when you were there in 2003, that was at a place called Ultimate Fitness.
I don't remember that, though.
That was owned by a bodybuilder. And I actually trained there for about 4 or 5 years because a bodybuilder from Appleton, who was also a police officer, ironically, he opened his own
Why was
gym.
I there?
For ISS, for Fitness One Nutrition.
Oh, okay.
So Kevin DeHaven was there with you, and then the old owner of ISS or Fitness One, Jeff Hoffman, had the store. So, but then when you were in Milwaukee, we trained at Metroflex Milwaukee, which was a small gym. But like that, for example, I would take that Metroflex that we trained at just because of the atmosphere. I would take that over the Crunch I have in Appleton.
A lot of kids.
Any day.
Yeah.
A lot of kids came to see me.
Any day I would take that gym just because of the atmosphere. And it's like,
they had some cool murals and stuff. I saw on the wall there and everything.
Yeah.
I, even though like I'm 43, like I would still like for there to be loud music, whether it be Tupac or Guns N' Roses or something. And, at a Crunch, it's whatever commercial.
What about
music.
Bad Medicine?
Bon Jovi.
Are you going to compete again, or?
I don't think so. No.
You better not.
I mean, right now.
What's your biggest challenge at your age now?
Keeping my body fat down. When I was in one, the challenges I have, like I'm not as strict on my diet as I should be, and I shouldn't say as
Why don't
strict.
you say you like a fat slob?
Why are you laughing?
Because I eat.
So you say keeping your body fat's difficult. Now, remember, some people have difficulty because they eat well, but they just have bad genes for keeping weight off.
So when I was younger, and even when my fiance and I lived together before we had our son, my thing was anytime I went to the grocery store, there was never junk food in my house. That's not to say I wouldn't go out to, Burger King or have pizza or have a burger at a bar. Mm-hmm. But anytime I went grocery shopping, I would never buy junk food ever when I lived alone. And then when we had our little guy, it's like now all of a sudden, hey, what happened to that box of granola bars or whatever? So it's more a matter of discipline than anything else. But Surprisingly, you know, I haven't competed since 2018. I've backed off a lot as far as the training, you know, weight. I still train with a fair amount of intensity and I do higher volume, but like I haven't really lost that much size. It's just harder for me to maintain a lower body fat. But again, that's more.
Plus, it slows
discipline.
down when you get older too.
I mean, I think it's definitely harder to keep the weight off. It's funny because I'll have like abs all year round, but like lower back fat, it's weird. Like my legs are leaner now that I'm older than they ever were before. Like just like off season comparatively, and I have abs and stuff like that. But it's like everything goes.
He used to get so self-conscious of his back fat.
I still am. It's terrible. It's weird because it's like like in the summer.
I think everyone has their vices though on what they, you know, what they feel.
It's weird having lats and back fat, you know, like you throw on like a pair of,
but you got in crazy condition, you know, you should probably put up a picture of him in competition shape.
Yeah. I've gotten ironically, the best shape I ever got in was the year after I was let go from muscular development. So all I did that whole year, and I struggled to get by, but muscular development at the end of 2016, you know, I flew off the handle a little bit, but it was a business decision. They combined the online editor position with the editor of the magazine position. And Ron Harris had been there forever. I'd only been there for a few years. You know, Ron wasn't the most technologically, you know, savvy person, but I couldn't do what he did at all. So they gave Ron that position, you know, and I remember talking to Bob Ciccarillo at the time. I'm like, you know, I've been on this wild ride, traveling the globe, interviewing Jay Cutler, like places I never thought I would be. And I thought like this was done, you know, and Bob, and somebody just commented the other day on some Instagram thing about David Baye taking over Bob's job of emceeing. And I commented, I said, Bob is the sole reason that my career in the fitness, and Bob will be like, no, it's because you're talented. But like really Bob is.
But isn't that come line for you?
What's that?
He helped get you.
Well, so what happened was, you know, Steve called me, hey, we're combining these two positions, you know, blah, blah, blah.
You're fired.
Yeah. I went off the handle.
Call it how it is.
I went off the handle.
You did an interview.
Yeah, which I'm
going to post a link to that.
No, it was, I mean, you know, it was a pretty hard knee jerk, but then it was like this, like, oh shit, like now what do I do? You know, and while I was working for muscular development, Bob was always like, hey bro, you know, I got 3, you know, promoters trying to get me to MC on the same weekend. You know, do you want to MC a show? Because I was MCing shows in Wisconsin and I just never had the time traveling. So once I wasn't working for MD, Bob started kicking me all these jobs. And so for 2017, all I did was MC, but I would fly out like on a Friday, fly home on Sunday. I was sleeping 12, 14 hours a day. You know, I'd go to bed at 10 at night, wake up at, you know, 11 the next morning, do my hour of cardio. For that whole year, none of my food was like out of Tupperware because I was only working on weekends. Like I'd be cooking for myself every day. And it was like almost like, you know, I was on the tail end of competing. This was 2017. My last show was in 2018, but it's almost like wow, this is what it's like to like be a bodybuilder full time. And I was able to get in really good condition. By that time, you know, my quad sweep had tapered down a little bit and I wasn't as big as I was in my 20s. This was 2017. So I was, you know, in my mid to late 30s at the time, but it was wild, you know, when I just was focusing on my training and sleeping 12 hours a day, which now sounds crazy because I'm lucky if I get 6 with my little guy, but I got really shredded. Like I got to the point where it was the first time I ever, I posted a picture of me doing like the Tom Platz moon pose with my hamstrings just like crazy shredded, and it went like semi-viral for good reasons and bad reasons. There was some people thought it was a fun picture, but I got really shredded, and I mean it was, you know, and then
so that haunts you now to try to get back to that.
Yeah, you know, but the thing is, so I did my first show in 2001, and in 2021 I was going to do another show, and at 12 weeks out I hadn't free weight squatted since 2018. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get back to free weight squatting at 12 weeks out. This is the first time I've squatted in 3 years. And I warm up like big time. So I'm warming up with a plate, then a plate and a quarters, 2 plates, 2 plates and quarters. And I worked my way up to 4 plates. And I remember it clear as day. On the 5th rep, I felt like a little tweak in my left knee. And I'm like, I'm going to hang it out for today. You know, went home, it was fine. Then I woke up at like 2 in the morning. I couldn't move my leg. Like, I could move it backwards a little bit, but it hurt really bad. And of course I'm like playing like Google Doctor. And I think I strained my meniscus a little bit. But I couldn't do any cardio. I couldn't put weight on it for it was only about 6 weeks. I mean, I could still get around and I didn't have to have surgery, but I couldn't put much weight on it. Couldn't do any cardio. I stayed on my diet pretty much right up until about 2 weeks out from the show. Matt remembers, I'm like, I'm just going to keep on this diet, see what I can do without doing cardio. And it was just the Fox City show. It was a local NPC show, but it was the first one I ever did. It was kind of like, hey, 20 years. And at 2 weeks out, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to go on stage looking like this. I went to the show, and I'm confident that I still would have won in the condition that I was in the audience. But for me, it was funny because when I went on stage in 2017, all shredded up, a buddy of mine who just got like runner-up or whatever at North Americans came and beat me by like 1 point. And I came back in 2018 and won the Mr. Wisconsin, but I did not look very good. So I didn't, I won, and it was, I don't know if there's shows that you won where you were off and you still won.
I mean, not everyone's, we're all going to go through certain things. Obviously, life has kind of shifted for you now. And, I understand with your position now and you're around all these, like, you just witnessed one of the greatest Arnold Classics we've seen. And
yeah, what was your feedback of the Arnold? You're on the inside.
Wow. So, this was a really good year for the Arnold Classic, and it was a good year for, I think, the industry as a whole to really have expos kind of come roaring back. So, Brian Powers took over as the executive director in 2001. We won't get too much into that, but Arnold split ways with Bob and Jim Lorimer. 2021, and Brian took over in summer of around May, June of that year. Matt actually introduced me to Brian. At the time I had been the social media director for the Mr. Olympia, and Brian just offered me a little bit different opportunity and experiences and stuff like that. So, but 2021 we basically ran 4 divisions, no expo, just a crowd.
I know, but what do you think about what do you think about the Open? We talk
about
you
want to? I thought I was talking about the show itself.
Do you believe Samson won, or
yeah? I know Arnold. I think really liked Andrew jacked, but I think Samson looked great. And Bob and I were talking, and actually talked to Fuad a little bit. I think if Samson is 5-10% better. I know Bob just did a video recently saying 5% better. I think if Samson shows up with similar conditioning to Hottie or Nick Walker, or Hottie or Derek Lunsford, which he has yet to do, I think Samson wins the Olympia. I think structurally, between his height and his structure, the level of muscularity he has, I think if his conditioning improves some, I think he can win. I think
Hottie's going to be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hottie
people forget quick, man.
That's something I was going to say. You see, and this isn't down talking anybody, but you'll see all these guys saying, "I'm going to make these improvements for the Olympia." Hottie's going to improve too.
Yeah,
Hottie's doesn't have weak anything.
You guys got to remember, he's knocked at that door, and he kicked that thing in. Not even, a better overall look, but not what he is capable of. So I think
he'll be better this year.
Yeah, I think so too. And Derek is going to be tremendously better. And, Samson peaked, once already this year. It's tough.
Well, so it's interesting because
Nick Walker's even more hungry now.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I talk about, it's funny because there's certain people there's certain times I don't want to talk about bodybuilding. I'm sure you're the same way. I don't want to talk about it. And Bob and I probably talk about bodybuilding, 5 times a week, and we've discussed, Samson, obviously he's an Arnold Classic champion now, so he's up near the top. But the what ifs, or this guy could be that, that's a discussion we've had multiple times. I'll stick by this. I think in, top conditioning, I think Lionel Bayecki could have been Mr. Olympia, 4 or 5 times, but that's a big if.
The queen had balls, she'd be the king.
What's that?
If the queen had balls, she'd be the king.
Yeah. So I do think, with his height and his structure, but that's again, Samson hasn't been in the type of conditioning that Hottie Chupin has been in. And like Matt said, Hottie's not gonna. He's not getting any worse.
I look at it like this: everyone we named outside of Hottie, they're saying, what if Derek makes improvements here? What if Nick does this? What if this? Hottie's not a what if.
I know, dude, but listen, I think Rami can still come back and win this thing,
If everyone's 100%,
I mean, we forget
Rami
about
wins.
where's Brandon Curry fall in this? Like, what if Brandon has time down and comes in Remember, he was beating down the door for a couple years straight. Like,
you know, and when we discuss what ifs, I think a lot of it is what if in the hypothetical situation that everybody is at 100.
That'll never happen.
That won't
never
happen. But if
happens.
you let's take everybody's structure right now that's in the top 10 or so, and say everybody shows up in, you know, Branch Warren, you know,
Big Rami wins.
I know, but dude, Derek is very dangerous in that spot too. I mean, who's going to beat him in the rear poses?
Samson.
Who's going to beat him in front double
poses.
bicep? You think
Andrew
Samson can beat him in a front double?
I think Andrew Jack beats all of them in the front double.
And there's a lot of different.
That's questionable.
There's a lot of different types of bodies.
Derek
on
has the lats and the small waist and that front double that's just bananas.
The reason I say that, though, with Andrew is Andrew's waist is just as small, and he's that much bigger, and he's got the peaking biceps, and he's got the lines.
He doesn't have the lat taper that Derek
he doesn't
has.
have the lat taper.
Andrew hasn't been like obnoxiously shredded yet either, and I think that's.
But he's been competing for 1 year.
Yeah. No, and I'm just saying that. I'm saying that like as a potential thing. Like we've seen Andrew win Texas, win the Arnold UK, top 10 at the Olympia, his first Olympia. And a year after he won the amateurs, he comes into the Arnold and gets third place.
And he's circulating
and
with
he's 6'2", 290. And we haven't seen him like shredded yet. So, but of course there's no, and this is why I bring up Lionel Bayecki and I bring up a couple other guys, because there's no, I really love Andrew's physique, and he's in the interactions that I've had with him, he seems like a great person. There's no guarantee that we're going to see him leaner and better than what we already have. And of course, in bodybuilding, we always talk like, oh, if this person could just get to this level, if this person could just show up like this. And look, sometimes it happens. You've seen people, you know, Brandon Curry for years, everybody talked potential, and then he shows up and wins. And, you know, but there's other guys that we see where, you know, we talk potential, and it never happens. Of course, there's guys like Ronnie where it's like, you know, all of a sudden he leapfrogs a couple of places.
You see what I'm saying, though? Everybody is an if, except
I know, but I'm just thinking as you guys are conversing, you know, and I think we should probably close it out on this as, you know, because we talked a lot about the Arnold. We're falling back into like that 90s era of like competitive, oh, this guy could be here. Like, you know, we're still not talking about Hunter Labrada, who I feel can be in this mix.
Recently, and he looks apparently.
I mean, these are people that we just.
There's a bunch of
There's
guys.
a lot of excluded people that, you know, we're still excited about. Like, is
Michael Crizo?
Sergio going to come back? Yeah, I mean,
Sergio
like,
looks good.
There's so many guys.
We're gonna see Regan here in the near future.
So,
with a lot of
like,
new
are we
muscle.
getting into like we're excited about an open class, which I think fell off for a minute.
Yeah, it did.
Because the old guard was going out, and now the new guard has come in, and a lot of guys are like solidifying position now. Mm-hmm. It's making exciting again.
I'll tell you.
But you didn't answer a question. Did Samson deserve to win the show?
Oh, yeah. I think absolutely he deserved
I think we talked about this before.
You know, I've noticed that there's a lot of people, like I've watched the online people think he shouldn't have won. But the people that were in the crowd seem to have said Samson deserved to win.
This is bodybuilding, though, right? Apples and oranges. Nick Walker and Andrew Jack and Samson all have very different. Even if you compare the aesthetics of Andrew and Samson, they're still two very different bodybuilders. And you're going to have your people who love your Nick Walkers, and you're going to have your people who love Samson because he's more aesthetic. There was people making Samson comparisons to Lee Haney and like, oh, look, we're getting back to
Milos did that.
We're getting.
I don't think their physiques are comparable
back to
at all.
the 80s, and it's like comparing like Dexter and Marcus Rule. It's like, who do you know? I mean, man, when Marcus Rule used to come out, it was Rule, and people went nuts, you know. But I mean, today people online probably would be like, oh, you know, he's just a big block. So there's, but to your point about people being excited about like open bodybuilding right now, I think you're spot on, and it's an exciting time. And like as you know, as a media personality and somebody who works in the industry, it's one thing. But I've always said this, and I don't care how cheesy it sounds, is like first and foremost, I'm always a fan. So I'm always like, oh, who's doing this and who's doing this. And I'm glad you brought up Hunter Labrada, because apparently he's ditched the protein shakes and is eating real food. And he looks bananas right now.
It doesn't matter. We still talked about him as a contender. I mean, the guy plays fourth.
He looks
he went from
crazy.
8th to 4th, and it's like, what have you done for me lately? It just shows to show. Like
you mentioned,
fast.
people are not talking about Sergio at all because he hasn't competed in a while. But he's a guy that could be in that. Like there's a top 10. There's Nathan Diasha.
Of course,
no one's talking
exactly.
about.
There's another
Michael
one.
Crizo. There's Ian.
Yes.
There's a bunch of people no one's even talking about that
I
are all top 10
I
guys.
still think if Akeem Williams diets to where his upper back matches his legs,
He's a
and his
problem
front.
too. What did he get, 6 2 years ago?
Yeah, Akeem's another one of those guys where like I think people forget about him, and he's so big and so cartoonish. It's just when he turns around and hits those irritable biceps, he's got that like thick upper back skin. It's like he's just got to lean out a little bit more. Of course, again, it's a big if, but yeah, the top 10 at this year's Olympia, I mean, it's going to be like.
Well, remember, some guys don't need to
battle.
qualify, dude. You know.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot of people that have to.
but the leading up, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. That's
There's
the nice
the
thing,
list
you know?
of guys that need to qualify. I mean,
It's everyone.
You have Hunter, you have Ian, you have Regan, you have Nathan DeAsha, you have Andrew. You have
We went over the
all
list
those
last
guys,
time.
yeah.
It's the former Olympia they have on there, the top 3 at the Olympia, and the only other person was Brett Wilkin.
So what
won the last
qualified
show.
at the Arnold? Did we figure this
Samson.
out? Okay,
Just
just the
Samson.
winner. Just the
Samson,
winner.
and then the points thing, but I think
They got rid of
they
the
got
points.
rid of
They got rid of
points.
it.
So it's just
gone.
it's just the winner.
So it was the top 3 from last year? Yeah, top 3. And then because the other guys
But Rami and Brandon were
they're already qualified.
pre-qualified
Because they're past Olympia champions. And then you had Samson and Brett Wilkin because he won the last show before the Olympia that qualified him. So
one
he's
overseas,
qualified.
yeah.
So there's pretty much
Everybody's gotta
pretty much
qualify.
everybody has to qualify.
Which
So
is-
this year we're going to see a lot of
What's
really
the next
good
pro
guys.
show, Dave?
I think New York coming up the second
Yeah.
weekend in May.
So
And
it's
then,
not the California is the week after then?
I think
Yeah.
Cal's the week after because you have Pittsburgh the second weekend.
that's
in
not
May.
open.
That's not
that
open,
doesn't
yeah.
have open bodybuilding, but as far as like kicking off the big shows, you have Jim's show, and then you have the New York Pro, then you have Cal. Then I think there's
Is Indy happening this
Puerto
year,
Rico. No, Indy and Boston.
Chicago?
were done this year. Chicago will be
will
in
happen.
July.
What about
Yep.
Toronto Pro Show?
Toronto's back. Vancouver's back. So a couple of the
There's
shows.
there's a bunch in Europe
Okay.
this year. There's a bunch.
There's
Because we're
European
looking on the
shows.
schedule.
So
There's-
Creso will
there's
get
2
on
in,
there.
There's
and-
2 in Italy. There's one in UK. There's Alicante, Spain.
Did Regan make his announcement which one he's going to do, or is he going
Texas
to wait
shows.
to do it?
There's
On?
Texas,
Tampa.
no,
I mean,
he's not
there's
gonna
a
announce
lot of
Puerto Rico.
opportunities.
We saw Stanimal last night.
Yeah.
He's big as a house.
It'll be interesting to see if we have somebody.
Says
like,
he's going to be in the Open Mr. Olympia top 10 this year.
You know what?
Way
You know
to
what?
find
You know
out.
what
He's
I've
very
learned.
big right now.
You know what I've
He's
learned.
Yeah.
Don't make a prediction because you never know. You never know what someone's.
Well, don't doubt people either.
No, absolutely not.
But the interesting thing with some of these shows being like so close to each other this year is, are you going to get somebody like Ian Vaere who comes in and wins Tampa, then wins Texas, and wins a couple?
If you have a problem with it, go beat him.
And I know people like that used to be a thing, Darren Charles and Tony Freeman, the kings of the $10,000 shows, and now people
10,000
get mad.
adds up.
Now people get
Troy
mad.
Alves, too.
Yeah, now people get mad because you took an Olympia qualification. It's like, well, then beat him. So there might be guys that bounce
I had
from show to show
lunch
to
with
show.
Ashley Kaltwalser the other day, and she said that. She's just
Oh, I tell you what, when I was reading some of the stuff about Ashley, when these girls were online, like complaining about she's taking Olympia qualifications, and I'm like, you fucking go win. Can I drop F-bombs here? I'm like, you just go win show after show after show. And it's like, if you don't like Ashley winning, then go beat her. But that attitude that people were putting out with Ashley, like she's taking qualifications, like that is the
I think
biggest.
she's going to do a lot of shows.
That
this
is the biggest loser. Like that is the biggest loser
She's
mentality
in shape
I've ever
always,
seen.
right? Yeah.
year. You know,
And
I,
she's
so had-
look, the bikini shows aren't the biggest paychecks, but if she's bing Cali to Vegas, back to Cali to here, and she's taking paycheck after paycheck, I don't know if she gets
so Ashley competes at 120 pounds. Guess how much she weighs in the off season?
123.
122. She set up to 122.5. So she can decide 10 days out and drop and do a show.
And she'll win.
Yeah.
9 out of 10. You know what? And good. And I'm sure the people over at the Olympia probably
They'd
like
love
her because it's less plane
I was
tickets
going to
and
say
hotels. They have
I was
to book
going to
for
say Jake
bikini.
Wood should give her a bonus. Be like, hey, you win 10 shows, you just saved me 10 plane tickets, 10 hotel rooms, 10
Yeah.
this.
I love that mentality when athletes go and they do a handful of shows. It's like, one, it's money. Two, as long as you're not going so hard that you're burning
It's your
yourself
job,
out. Yeah. And now we have this mentality like, oh, you took an Olympia qualification spot. And I love it. Ashley's like, I'll go take 5 more.
But you know what? Just think about that deeply. You took a spot. If you can't go beat her, you're not going to win anyways. No. So
it depends on what show.
If you-
Laura Lee got 5th at the Olympia, and she goes to the Arnold and wins.
yeah, but if you can't go beat Ashley at the Tampa Palms Classic or whatever random show that she goes and does. If you can't beat her there, what makes you think you're going to beat her at the Olympia?
Yeah, but the mentality for a lot of people,
the
mentality for a lot of people is they just want to qualify and go to the, like I qualified for the Olympia.
Of course, it's people's lifelong dream, you know. My dream was to get in the Olympia.
Yeah, but your dream is to win it.
Well, eventually, but I just wanted to get there at first.
I think there's some levels.
You got to walk. You got to crawl before you walk.
It's
right?
like, you know, in the late 90s and early 2000s when it was the top 3 at shows, and you always had some.
Yeah, but they only had 10 shows back then.
You always had some off show where a third place guy came in and got Olympia qualification. It was like, you know what, good for you. You made it. You know you're not going to be a contender, but you
stood there with the 15 elite.
You picked the right show and you got in, and it was like,
you know, I was looking on the list. There's not as many shows this time around as last, because remember last year there was like 14 months worth because the way the Olympia was. So this year there'll be a little less. We're gonna have some big names that don't make it. It's gonna happen because there's at least 15 to 20 really good names in open men, and there's not going to be 20 qualification spots because somebody's going to go win 2 or 3.
You know who's going to Antonio Burton's going to end up taking someone's position. And
Antonio Burton can do the Open. I think this Justin Shear, who won Nationals 2 years ago.
Yes, you're right.
Justin Shear, I think, will go in and win. And then I kind of a question mark for me is Carlos Thomas. You know, if Carlos can show up shredded, he's got a lot of muscle. Right? Yeah, he's got a lot of muscle. He's balanced. When he won Nationals, he was in pretty good shape. He's going to have to be leaner to win a pro show. But there's guys like Carlos. Justin shows up shredded. I think I would be very surprised if we didn't see Justin Shear at this year's Olympia. I'll be very surprised. And
does he say what show he's doing?
I don't know. He's you know, something mid to later on in the year. But I would be very surprised if we didn't see him. But Antonio Burton, you know, he's another guy. I mean, it's going to be a crazy Olympia lineup.
Is he qualified or no? No, Antonio. He didn't win. Okay, last. Okay.
No, he won Reno,
but he didn't do the Olympia, right?
He did the Olympia. He just didn't. He just kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think. I don't think he looked crazy at the Reno show. That was to me he walked away with that one.
Yeah, and when you get that second call out where people are just as excited, I mean, you're never going to be as excited for the second call out, but when the second call out, it's going to be a deep
Raphael.
And
we didn't mention him.
Yeah,
Steve Kuklo. Is he?
I don't know if Kuklo's doing.
I don't know if he's
competing
coming back or not, but Raphael, I'm sure will. So yeah, there's a lot of really good names. I mean,
Raphael will probably compete in Brazil, right? Isn't there a show there?
Well, there's a show in 4 weeks. The Arnold Brazil. That's the one Sergio was going to do.
Oh, okay.
He's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Sergio's just some update randomly. I'm like, oh Jesus, he's shredded.
He's shredded. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's and of course in my head, I'm thinking, he'll come back and try to win another New York Pro, but he's pretty much ready to roll now. So yeah,
you know who I saw in the gym yesterday? Keon.
Mm-hmm.
He's big as a house.
Keon. So Keon is right.
He's out here in Vegas.
Keon is in that exact same discussion as Lionel Bayaki. If Keon ever puts it together, and I mean really puts it together, nobody beats him. And I love Sean Clarita. I think he's an incredibly impressive.
Says he's going for 7 in a row, eight in a row,
212 champion.
No, 7 in a row. Yeah.
And Sean, I don't think Sean's ever been off. So Sean is as consistent as any bodybuilder I've seen. Pretty much period. And Keon's kind of like the opposite. He's the guy we're waiting. But we saw that with, Brandon Curry for a lot of years, but sometimes you wait and they never nail it. But when you see Keon, his off-season pictures, I mean, he was
at the gym yesterday. He's a cartoon.
It's absolutely insane.
Complete
if Keon ever puts it together and can still get under 212, he's going to win the 212, but that's a big if. And if Keon gets to I think Keon's big enough to compete in the Open. I mean, you saw him in person.
I don't know how much he weighs now, but he was gigantic.
Yeah, and he's got great structure, a small waist. It's just, but again, how many decades have people been saying if this? You want to go back to the 90s Nationals. What
about the other Brazilian guy? The guy that the guy that has all the, I'm forgetting his name right now.
Horse MD?
No,
because he was classic.
No, open guy.
Open. Oh, Fabio Resende, the Arnold Amateur winner.
No, the guy.
Good Vito.
Good Vito.
Oh,
he's pro. Right?
There's another guy.
There's another guy that. He's another name that he looks like a freak.
Yeah, and then you see some random. I see every once in a while some random pictures of some Middle Eastern guys that I'm not really familiar with.
Or Milos's guy, the guy that beat Brett Wilkin in Romania.
Really good from Iran.
Yeah, he looks ridiculous, and he's big too.
Yeah,
because I remember when they were going into that show, Milos said. Everyone was saying, Brett Wilkins is going to go win this. And Milos is like,
He's another one.
I have a guy coming in this show you have no
Brett
idea
Wilkins coming on again.
Yeah,
you know?
Brett can
And
come.
he's got all year. Brett has all year to improve.
Yeah, and Brett, he posted a video the other day, incline repping out like
405 for like 12.
He's just like incline repping 4 plates. I'm like, oh.
You know what though? It's good. It's good that we're back at that moment where for a while there's only 2 or 3 guys that you're like that could do some serious damage.
Yeah.
Now there's a list.
Yeah, I mean, you still have your favorites for the top few spots, but man, past that, there's a lot of excitement.
But here's the thing: you can have
right
your
now.
favorites. Like you can look at if you take the top 5 from last year. Many years the same guys would be in there. There's 3 or 4 guys that can go in there and spoil that, and could go from first and could go in there and win.
I think right now you look at we brought up Brandon, we brought up Rami. You obviously have Derek and Hottie. I think Andrew and Samson have an opportunity.
Nick.
Hunter Labrada, Nick Walker. I mean,
Nick can win.
There's 8 or 9 guys that if they really, really nail it and a couple people slip a little bit, that can win. I mean, when was the last time you've been able to say, hey, down to 7, 8 guys have the potential to win? Now, of course, if Hottie's on and if Derek's 100%, then that changes
here's a question.
things.
Let's and your opinion, just for if the top 3 from last year, let's say Hottie, Derek, Nick are all 100% on, but then Samson's 100% on, or Andrew Jack is 100% on. Do these taller guys leapfrog them?
Look,
if they're all 100%.
If everybody's 100%, but here's the okay. Are we talking? Here's where we start breaking down semantics. Are we talking equal conditioning or 100% for
100% for them? Because conditioning, I think, sometimes a genetic.
Because when we talk Hottie, obviously
nobody can look like him.
And we talk Hottie. Remember the year he, the salute to Dexter.
Yeah.
That year he got 3rd. I mean,
I thought he should have won that year.
Yeah, that year he was just insane.
I remember you weren't at prejudging, and we came at night, and I remember you looked over at me, and you're like, dude, Hottie's kicking everyone's ass all over the stage. And he got 3rd.
He looked really wild in 2018. Of course, they gave him a little bit of stuff about his shoulders in 2021.
But if each one of them brings their best package, Derek makes improvements, and all these.
I think their best package, I think Hottie probably
would retain,
still wins because we know Hottie's best is like ridiculous.
Yes,
and we haven't seen Samson. Look, the Arnold Classic, that was Samson's best. Samson, the way he looked at the Arnold, still doesn't beat Hottie at 100%.
Would he beat Derek?
That's got to see him stand next to each other. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If you take Samson and put him at Hottie's level of conditioning, which who knows if that's ever going to happen, right? Like that's like saying if you took you took Chris Cormier and put him at Ronnie's level of conditioning.
I don't think anyone on that stage can equal Hottie's that crazy grainy. That's just genetic thing.
But look, if Hottie's at his best, I don't know that anybody's beating him right now. But I think there's definitely an open discussion about who can win includes a lot more people than in previous years. Yeah. That's what I think. I think it'll be really exciting going into it. Samson's now got, the Olympias in November now, so he's got more time than he normally would, an extra 6 weeks from when it normally is. Hottie's got all year. I'd like to see Hottie try to get over here a few months in advance and just be able to train.
I'm sure I haven't spoke to Hottie about it, but I'm sure.
I would like to see him be able to train with Hottie. Of course, Derek's here training with Hottie, and Derek's going hard. But look, everybody's going hard. It's the Olympia.
It's gonna be just the whole year is gonna be an exciting year.
Every show that we have coming up is going to be exciting in regards to who's going to win.
Because there's going to be multiple guys that are
who's going to get their qualification.
Names.
Yeah, you're going to have shows where you're going to have, an Ian's going to have to go up against a Hunter, against an Andrew. It's not going to be these shows where you see one guy in the lineup and okay, he's getting his qualification. And some of these guys who want to get to the Olympia stage are going to have to do multiple shows. There's no point system. So you're going to have to do multiple shows. You need to get a win and you're in. And some of these guys aren't going to take second place and be like, okay, well, that's done. No, you're going to have to pick another show and you're going to have to do it. And if you get second place 2 shows in a row and you still want that qualification, and then each new show, you're going to have some guys who that's the show they're targeting. So we're in for a very, very exciting 2023 competitive season.
What do you think of that?
I think that's we got Dave's a little insight, and we appreciate you coming on, man.
We're gonna go see if Dave can train now.
Are you actually gonna go pump up right now?
Yeah, we're trying to get huge around this dump.
trying to get huge.
Well, listen, if you guys have your questions, comments, concerns, or if you were argument towards anything that we said, I'd love you guys to comment below. We appreciate all the great feedback. Make sure you guys share the video, like, subscribe. I'm sure we'll have some pretty good topics that people want to discuss over this. But episode 70, I can't believe, like I said, we hit 70. This is our 70.
This is 70.
70.
Wow.
So you came in for our 70. For myself, David Baye, and, of course, Manager Matt, we are out.